When I was a child and early teen, I lived out in the middle of nowhere. I was homeschooled and didn't have any friends other than my siblings. Let's just say things got boring. Really boring. A lot. The stories and movies I watched were mostly wholesome, Jesus-approved, like Disney and musicals, why I jokingly say that my mom was trying to turn me gay growing up. However, my dad snuck more mainstream movies in our early teens in trying to be the cool dad. My favorites were adventures and superheroes, Batman and Indiana Jones. Being bored, I created my own worlds in my mind, reliving, changing, imagining what I would do in those situations. Not being at all athletic, I had no idea how fragile and weak the human body is, and how non-fragile an opponent can be. Batman was only able to fight that many people because he did literally nothing but train himself. Also, a study done on football players' impacts on joints and concussions showed that his career would be a maximum of 3 years, at which point he would be an arthritis joint-crippled and mentally damaged individual, unless he actually does have a superpower of super healing joints and concussive-proof skulls. Thanks, science, for ruining something cool yet again. Indiana Jones succeeded, looking back now, mostly thanks to ridiculous movie luck, which adults get, but kids often don't. I longed and desired for adventure, for something, anything out of the ordinary to happen. Often a tragedy that would break the rules of reality I knew, especially waiting for Jesus to return. When you create your life around life only getting better with death or Jesus coming back and making the world a better place, the world becomes quite hopeless and you want chaos and tragedy to happen. Maybe even a big war so you can go be a hero or die trying, or might bring about the apocalypse. You have no clear goal in mind, nothing driving you. It creates a kind of nihilism, and the only thing worthwhile that you can do is bugging the shit out of non-believers who don't want to be preached at cause you're scared shitless for their souls. I spent much of my early 20s stuck in that mindset, in the Navy, though with Asperger's I was just trying to get by. I was a rather bitter, lonely person. I believed in the idea of civil war, that violence could fix things. If you watch movies and pro-military propaganda, you believe that because war often appears to make America better, while wars in reality completely damage the infrastructure of the place we invaded, and they have power vacuums and anger at the US, causing problems to pop up further down the road thanks to the lowered IQ of the PTSD we caused them. The only good war is one where the goal is to create freedom, democracy, and income equality, as a person cannot eat the vote or live in their freedom of speech. If you're naive, when you think about adventures, there are only two outcomes, victory or death. It's not a binary, it's a gradient, unlike what movies will tell you. It's a gradient between the two, many times breaking even with crippling injuries for the rest of your life, which can completely kill all glamour of adventure for someone older. People came home from World War II with PTSD that made them violent, and people accepted it as just normal. Vets are now sleeping on the streets because they can't get help they need to function in society from a Republican defunded VA department. There is a reason why nonviolent movements may seem more privileged to the more violent-minded, but it's a matter of practicality. Civilization and infrastructure took forever to build. Martin Luther King was very much not privileged. Many of the young alt-righters see violence as a form of adventure, and the same is true with the Antifas. And for the Antifas, they see violence in the system and feel helpless to fix it, and they want to take these emotions and do something, even if it will give fodder to their enemies, to brand them as terrorists and marginalize all of their message, making them the bogeymen of the scared old populace. With age causing reduced testosterone and reduced boredom, adventures do make one late for dinner. If a person can feel like they're really making change through much more boring actions like voting and political engagement, the drive for adventure and violence drops. But when you can barely find a job or feel like nothing you do will change things, violence and adventure seem like a form of escape, an event valve for frustration and feelings of being trapped. Evil is boring and banal. It is systematic. It's not something that you can use adventure to change. Riots are the voice of the unheard. MLK. While not productive, they are the natural reactions to feelings of utter helplessness. A kind of nihilism is produced if they feel everyone cheats, kills, and steals from them. Adventure and excitement are things that Jedi does not crave, but the dark side feels very compelling when you feel exposed, powerless, and unsafe. Thank you for watching. Please like, rate, and subscribe. Also, please consider donating to my Patreon. Below you will find a link to my WordPress blog. Today's discussion involves the dangers that white male guilt can cause and actually cause you to be somewhat more racist if you get hung up on it as opposed to moving on and trying to make the system better.